Welcome back to Inside the National. Still to come on the show, who made the podium on a very wet Chinese Grand Prix? Plus, will drivers one day have to pay their way to drive around the capital? We'll be talking congestion charging. Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, has posted 31 pages of answers to journalists' questions on the open web forum that he launched last week. Now it's the non-journalists' turn. Our senior reporter, Roland Hughes, joins us now with the story. Roland, let's start with the questions first by the reporters. What kind of questions did you see?
Well, I mean, we had the chance, basically, us and all reporters all across the region, all over the world had the chance to ask. So there was some inevitability, I think, about the kind of questions that would be asked. So particularly the economy. There were lots of questions about the perceptions of Dubai in the international press, particularly given recent articles, particularly in the UK and elsewhere. But also, I mean, people took the chance to ask about Sheikh Mohammed himself and his health and his personal life. What's he interested in? What does he like doing in his spare time? What spare time he does have?
And were the questions mostly from local media outlets or also international reporters?
Yeah, largely the questions that were answered were from the UAE themselves, from the English language and the Arabic language press. But there were one or two questions from elsewhere, from Egypt, for example, which kind of shows how much people have embraced this forum, and the chance to actually ask questions of such an important person.
And how would you characterize the tone, both of the questions and of the answers?
Yeah, I mean, the questions are very respectful, obviously, but people weren't afraid to ask some fairly controversial questions about, what's happening in Dubai and the UAE as a whole, and the way that the UAE is looked at from abroad. And Sheikh Mohammed himself, you certainly got a feeling of him as a man coming through from some of the answers, where he was in some ways turning the tables on some of the questions and asking, oh, do you know about this, do you know about that, and admitting that one of the questions submitted was a little strange, he said. So, but I know it's very, very candid, very open, and it was actually a fascinating insight into how you see the country being run from right up at almost one of the top levels.
Okay, that was the questions from the journalists. He did also invite questions from members of the public.
Yeah.
Those have been posted, and we should see answers to those sometime.
Yeah, I mean, members of the public can still post these. There are two ways that people to go into it. The best way is through UAEPM.ae, which is his own personal website. So you can log on and fill in all the details as your question. And we expect those to be answered very soon, actually, for those going on. The answer to the report is 31 pages long, almost 13,000 words of answers. I mean, it's very thorough. And Sheikh Mohammed himself said in this that he was inundated with requests from members of the public. So I think we can expect quite a few. Quite a long posting again, and if it's anything as good as the one yesterday, it should be worth looking out for.
In other international news, Belgium says its dredger, the Pompey, and 10 crew members have been seized by pirates off the Somali coast. Dutch commandos this weekend freed 20 Yemeni fishermen whose vessel had also been hijacked by pirates and then used to launch an attack against a tanker in the Gulf of Aden. The Dutch released the pirates because they have no jurisdiction unless the boat or crewmen are Dutch. A suicide bomber driving a pickup truck has killed 27 people in an attack on a police checkpoint in northwestern Pakistan. Most of the dead are policemen and soldiers. At least 62 people have been injured. Police say the bomber rammed his pickup into a checkpoint near the town of Hangu. The Pakistani Taliban have claimed responsibility for the attack. And American lawmakers say they are deeply dismayed at the 8-year prison sentence handed down to Iranian-American journalist Roxana Sabari this weekend in Tehran. 31-year-old Sabari was arrested for buying alcohol, then charged for working on an expired press pass. On Saturday, after a one-day trial, she was convicted of spying.
As a former prosecutor, I'm just offended that they would have a trial behind closed doors. No one can see the evidence. No one knows what really happened here. And we need to bring Roxanne Sabari home. She should not be made a pawn in an international game.
The fourth Grand Prix in a row has now been marred by rain. Joining me now to run through events is sports editor Murray Walker. Murray, the bad weather in China did not stop Red Bull from powering through to an historic double.
Yeah, it was tremendous news for Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel qualified fastest yesterday in dry conditions, but the rain didn't stop him again today. The young German driver showed that maybe he's following in the footsteps of the likes of Michael Schumacher or someone like that, his fellow countryman, to win. But great for Red Bull. Nice time with Abu Dhabi with the Red Bull Air Race yesterday, but Mark Webber making it a historic 1-2 for them. But the Brawn team still looks the one to beat, even though they were third and fourth today. But that keeps them at the top of the championship standings.
Okay, let's take a look at the FA Cup semi-finals. Tell me about Chelsea and Arsenal.
Chelsea, yeah, it was a tale of a standing goalkeeper. Unfortunately, he had a birthday to forget. Fabianski, it was his 24th birthday, made a mistake, came running out of his area. Didier Drogba beat him to it and scored the winner. It was a big disappointment for him, and he only brought in at the last minute because the normal goalkeeper was in, so he had to come and made a hash of it, unfortunately. So Chelsea through to the final. Could be a repeat of the Champions League final, so I don't know.
And things could be looking very good for Manchester United.
That's it, depending tonight. Everton aren't an easy walkover by any means, so that could be an interesting time. But you've got to favour Man United today.
And finally, I understand you've done an interview for tomorrow's newspaper with the man they used to call the Rawalpindi Express.
Yes, he might be just a little bit derailed, but Shovax has been talking about how he's been working on his fitness in the week he's been over in Dubai to get ready for the series for Pakistan against Australia. The Australian team have arrived from South Africa and the other players from Australia today. So it's a very interesting piece because he, at the top of his powers, Shovax is someone to fear, and he simply seems to have got the bit between his teeth this time. So looking forward to that.
In other sports, it wasn't the launch they were looking for. The New York Yankees played at their new Yankee Stadium yesterday at a cost of $1.5 billion. It's the most expensive baseball stadium in history. However, the game may be remembered for another record. In losing 22-4 to the Cleveland Indians, the Yankees equaled their record for conceding the most runs in a home game.